poem actually, written by Matthew Arnold, called Sorab and Rustam. I don't know how many of you have read it. It's based in Persia, many 500 years back. And it's about the father, Rustam, who was a mighty warrior. In those days, when two tribes went to war, they would, instead of sending hundreds of soldiers to die, they would appoint one warrior who fought in single combat with the other person, with the other warrior. And whoever won, that army won. Rustam was a mighty warrior. He had won many battles. His only ambition in life was to have a son to whom he could pass on this talent, this skill. His wife did not want to go through with this pressure all over again with a child. So when she gave birth to a boy, she lied. She sent word to her husband that it was a girl. The father was so disillusioned, Rustam was so disillusioned, he never went back home. Now this son, Sorab, after all, he had the father's genes. He grew into another mighty warrior, and the final scene was Rustam, the father, fighting Sorab, the son. Sorab didn't really want to fight. He only fought to find his father. He knew his father was in hiding somewhere, and he wanted to find the father. The father was face to face with a son whom he so dearly wanted, but he didn't know that he was the son. And Sorab, the son, looks at this grand old man and says, "Why do you want to fight? You and I have fought many battles. Let's sit on the banks of the river and talk." Rustam was so frustrated, the father. He says, "Have you come here to talk or to fight? Just shut up and start fighting." And so the fight began. Both were equally pitted, equally powerful, except that Rustam was older and less agile. And once he tripped and slipped and fell into the sand. Sorab could have killed him then, but he didn't. He just stood there and waited for the old man to get up. And the father was furious. So, to buck himself up, he said, "Come on, Rustam." Sorab heard his father's name and dropped the shield. When he dropped the shield, that's when Rustam killed him. As Sorab was falling to his death, he looked up at him and said, "It's not you that killed me, you fool. It's my father. You uttered my dear father's name." Now it was Rustam's turn to be shocked. He said, "What are you talking? Rustam had no son." Sorab said, "Even when I was alive, I never told lies, and truth sits on the lips of dying men." He lifted his sleeve and showed his father's tattoo on his shoulder. And that's when Rustam wanted to kill himself. And Sorab said, "Don't do that, father. My mother is waiting for you." Now, the rest of the story you have to read. But what the main point is, that we are not talking about a battle between Rustam and Sorab that was fought 500 years ago in Persia. It's for us to look within our hearts and think, are we not fighting our loved ones? Do we not have conflict with the people that we love most? Why is this happening is a question that you should ask yourself. And how do we resolve this battle? If you're able to rise above it. In Houston the other day, a mother told me that she was fighting with her 17-year-old son. And I said, if you can fight with your own son, who will you not fight with? You don't fight with your children. You only love them. So that's it. Now when you love another person, we're not talking about passive goodness. We are talking, the mind feels love, the intellect directs the conduct. For instance, when you love animals, Animal lovers love all animals. Today's newspaper carried a story of a tiger that was injured in one of the parks, and a government official who went there made sure that that tiger was attended to. Now, how do you attend to a tiger? You don't go there and say, look sweetheart, you're injured, let me deal with you. First you need to tranquilize the tiger, attend to the tiger, and before the tiger can regain consciousness, make sure the tiger is at a safe distance from you, right? Very often in life you have to do the same thing with people around you. I don't mean anesthetize your mother-in-law, please. Mentally. Your mind should feel love at all times, but your intellect should have the strength to take the right action. And this is not passivity, this is strength. The next thing is, love must be universal. You must love all beings at all times. But your obligations are specific. In other words, you have an obligation to educate your children. You don't have an obligation to educate your neighbor's children. You might do it. That's different. Now, in spite of knowing this, why do we fall? Because you gain instant pleasure. You know, I don't know what it is about the human mind, but to entertain a dislike, to entertain hatred, to say, I'll teach this person a lesson, gives you pleasure. And that's why you do all this. Therefore, you need education. You need to develop the intellect. And the intellect is developed by exercising the intellect, thinking. Unfortunately, today, thinking has become a rare commodity. Hardly anybody thinks. Why do you live the way you live? Because everyone else does it. I was talking to college students the other day and I asked them, I said, why are you so brand conscious? Why are you running after brands? Roger Federer wears brands when he plays tennis. Wears a Nike t-shirt maybe. Does he pay for it? No. The manufacturer has to pay him a tidy sum to wear that t-shirt. And I told them, you should live life in such a way and build merit and build power within yourself in such a way that the world will consider it a great privilege to have you wear their brands. You don't live life running after brands and paying a huge premium for a name. On top of that, the most foolish thing to do is to offer your back as a billboard for advertising the manufacturer's logo. When a manufacturer hires a billboard, he pays. But here you are offering your back as advertisement, and on top of that you are paying for that t-shirt, right? So therefore think. No one's ever thought. And this intellect is developed like that. For the intellect to be developed, you need knowledge. And for those of you who are interested, we have some books and CDs were displayed somewhere here. I don't know where it is. Outside here. The reason they've been brought here is otherwise they're not available in Bangalore. So you might want to take a look at it. We also have brochures. Pick it up. We have a website where we post knowledge every fortnight. We keep updating knowledge there. As they say, technology has made geography history. So even though I may be in Mumbai and you are in different parts of the country or maybe the world, you can access that knowledge online. So that's what it is. Now, when you identify, why do we feel that separateness? When you identify with the body, you feel maximum separateness. Even with your own child, you can't feel one. Identify with the mind, and it's such a wonderful feeling. You feel one with your family. That's why it's always wonderful to go back home when you go out on a trip, because you feel one with the family. Identify with the intellect, feel one with the country. Within the fraternity of sports persons, for instance, there is that feeling of oneness. Among musicians, there's a feeling of oneness. Identify with the spirit in you, and there's total oneness, no separateness, no sorrow. How do we do that is the question. There's a 3D plan of action to rise to that level of total oneness. 1, dedication. Work in a spirit of service and sacrifice for a higher cause, dedicatedly. There's a beautiful term in Vedanta which says sarva bhavena. Sarva bhavena means with all your being. Service is never done half-heartedly. If you don't feel like doing something, don't do it. If you do it, it must be with your heart and soul. Only then does it have an impact on others, and most importantly, only then does it help you. Second, devotion. Recently, there was an article in the papers which spoke of Sachin Tendulkar. When he approaches the nets, he says, it is like a devotee going to a temple. That everything in your life must be sacred. And the third, discrimination. You must understand that the world and all that it has to offer is impermanent. It will pass, it will die, it will perish. Yet, in this impermanent world, there is something that is permanent. Look for it. Search for it. And the very search, even if you haven't found it, is so exhilarating, is so satisfying, that finally you find the joy of life with this 3D plan of action. Then you move from plurality to duality to oneness. So this brings us to the end of this session. Before we part, let's take a look at the take-home points. The first thing that we discussed was emotion is a powerful motivator. Otherness is the cause of all our problems. Then we saw the benefits of oneness, love and attachment, and how it leads to success, happiness, and growth. Now friends, what you've heard in these 40 minutes, this is the time that was allotted to me, is only a promo of what Vedanta has to offer. In fact, it's a promo of what wonderful abilities and power resides in you. If you want to really tap into that, you need to see the entire movie. The entire movie is available. I don't mean literally movie. The whole knowledge is available. And we are lucky to be the recipients of this most fantastic knowledge. Tap into it, learn it, even a little bit will secure you against the greatest of challenges in the world. Thank you.